Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Book Brewers June edition. Thank you for coming on time. Too on time to the point that it clashed, but I think that was a good problem to have. So we have three people or four of us probably who will present all of the books, and then without further ado, I will call Fajar to present his book, and I will copy the question that can be found in the description box in our WhatsApp group and then put it in our Zoom chat. Okay, go ahead, Fajar.
Hello guys, book brewers. So today I will be the first presenter and I will be talking about the book, one of the most famous book about investing, and the title is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Okay, so what is this about? It's a book about a book that teach us about value investing, and this is one of the most recommended book if you are serious when it comes to investment. Um, as Donald already mentioned, this is recommended by Warren Buffett, and has been one of the legendary book from in the world of the investment. And when I read this, I feel like, oh my God, this is like a textbook, a very hard textbook. And thankfully, I used the help of AI, the Gemini, the notebook LM, the cloud. And so basically, I tried to uh, change the context from the book and change it into Indonesian stocks. Then several times, maybe I will focus on why I do this. Why did I decide to read this book? Because I am into investment. One of the reasons is that I will not have any pension unlike the PNS people, right? So I have to create my own pension. When I look further, I realized that actually mutual fund reksadana cut 2% of our money per year. It sounds small, but over the long run, it can cost up to like 30% of our money, or even 40% of our money, which is huge, right? So I decided I don't want to waste my money there. So let me just learn investment on my own. So that's the initial part. And when I try to dwell into the investment, I realized that this world is quite interesting. Overall, I have not um, read the whole book. Even the only like two books is already very heavy and it requires a lot of thinking. Um, the at least for the first thing first, the first one is that investment is this book talk about the investment. Value investment is basically means buying stocks when it's cheap and do not sell it when the other are too high, let's say. So what is value investment? So for example, as what you know, currently our dollar is insane, 18,000. And then our IHSG is like down to around 5,000 something. But in every single economic crisis, or maybe stock crash, it is an opportunity because at the time, it is the time when the stock is one of the cheapest. Um, so based on this book, it suggests that it is time for you to buy. When the others are feared, it is time for you to buy. Okay. Uh, and one thing that you have to, and the second thing is that you have to know your timeline. How long are you going to invest? For me, I will invest for the whole like 10 years or 15 years. So it's going to be a very, very long time. So this book tells me that if there's a crash like this, it's not the biggest problem. It's still concerning. When I look at my portfolio, I already lost like 25%, which is not small. But in the long run, uh, the book says that trust me, it will come back again if you put the proper stocks. And I also learned about one thing that is concerning about is about inflations. So inflation in the long term, it will eat up our money. For I have seen the list of the inflation for our past years in Indonesia is around 2.5%, kind of still okay, not as bad as Turkey. But again, it will eat up our investment. So for those who doesn't get into investment world, let's say that you put your money into mutual fund, okay, and let's say that the mutual fund give you like 6% of profit. 2.5% are eaten by inflation, and then another 2% are eaten by uh, the fee for the mutual fund. So how much you get? 1.5%. Is it worth it? I don't think so. Right? So that's why that you need to make a smarter way on where you invest your money, right? Uh, this is something that I find from maybe can I share screen? Oh yeah, I can. This is my a little bit of my finding. So basically, I try to find out what if I do. I'm not sure if you know it, but basically, what if I do investment? Let me check. So basically, any money that I got from the dividend or the stocks, I put back, and basically I compare the data uh, of area after the inflation. Let's say, okay. So basically, I will just make it simple. Um, so this is like one of the stocks. I will not be too lot into this, but basically, what is it? Where is it? Oh, this one. Oh, okay. Oh, but basically, maybe the stock of Indonesia is not very good. It is not like FNP where it keeps growing and growing and growing. But I think one of the most viable option is to do dividend investment, where basically any dividend that you get from the stock should be reinvested, and in the long run, it will compound again and again and again, and your money can double basically within 10 years. Basically, maybe there's a lot of tax. Yeah. Okay. And overall, I think when I look at this, I already made some choices of the recommended stock that I bought. Uh, I already paid like last time like 5 million for another stocks. Although it's I lose more money, but it's okay. It's temporary. And yeah, so I think that's why that I'm interested to read this book. Okay, do you have any question, guys?
Yes. Oh, before I ask question, anyone else have question?
Yes, I have a
Go ahead,
question.
Donald.
Yeah, thank you, Fajar. So based on the presentation, so based on the criteria in the book, what kind of stock meet the criteria of the book in the Indonesian market?
Okay, so there are some criteria that this book suggests. You can make a list of that. Or the list of screener and stock. For example, in simple terms, it must be cheap enough. It should give you dividend because there is no dividend. There is a good chance that the company may be asking you with their result. It also need to have a good long-term growth. Um, Mana nih? Oh ya, show you baru. Okay, I will just simply share screen. Basically, there are, if you go to StockBit, there are some streams that you can use. And you can just simply look at there's some criteria that I can show you how simple this one. So PE is less than 15, PPV is less than 1.5, something like this. You can, if you if you do in the stock bit, you can find out, and there are some stocks that fit into this criteria. Although, obviously, this is not a perfect criteria, but this helps. There are some exceptions. For example, like with BCA, BCA doesn't fit into this, but still, it's still a good stock to hold for long term. Yeah. So, okay. Anything else?
A side question, maybe.
Yeah,
Why do you choose cloud, not the other ChatGPT or Gemini?
yeah, because it is one of the best, one of the best uh, of AI. Gemini tends to be very forgetful. ChatGPT tend to give a very superficial answer. So yeah, of course the answer is cloud. Cloud is very simple as long as you can give a very detailed instruction. You can just give the instruction and leave it for 10 minutes and you got the result. So it's one of the best AI tool for any kind of most of the jobs.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, I have the next question for Fajar. You know that IHSG dropped lately by a lot, right? So a lot of people got affected by it. They somehow uh, are discouraged to do investment in that type of sense. But why all of a sudden you are interested in doing this kind of investment when the current climate, or at least lately, is not really supportive of that?
Right. So the book teach us to buy the stock when it's cheap. Uh, from one source says that for the past 15 years, so this is one of the cheapest time the stock has ever been. Okay, so 15 years. So there will be, maybe there will be no more crash like this in a few years. Maybe, hopefully, we don't have another COVID. Yeah. Um, if you buy it during the normal time, well, you will buy it at the regular time. So, of course, your profit will be less than this. Um, and maybe some says that, oh my God, we are doomed, right? We are doomed. Indonesia are doomed. Let's just stop investing whatsoever. But at this point, I still believe that eventually the stock will bounce back. Um, the reason why so much, the reason why IHSG is reducing so much is because of so many exterior costs, for example, like USA, like iron war, and maybe so many things lah. So even currently there are a lot of bubble in outside world, right? So and maybe unfortunately our government is kind of unpredictable, and it makes the investor feel not sure whether Indonesia is reliable to be invested or not. So although that is unfortunate, but I believe that this is one of the rare moments for us to buy. Um, but again, my timeline is long term. My timeline is like I nabung like 40% of my income every month, and I put it in the stocks, and I hope it's not killed by inflation, right? And if the main purpose of my investment is not to become rich, my purpose of investment is to protect my money, basically. So I'm not a trader. I'm not trying to become the next Timothy. No, I just want to have a good, stable money, basically.
Okay,
And
that's it.
yeah, basically I trust the skill, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I like your answer that the source of your for you buying the stock is from your own salary because
Mhm.
I happened to read about the Great Depression, and that was about people who were foolish in doing investing.
Oh
They
my God.
invested they bought a lot of stocks using borrowed money from the bank, which they could not pay
Oh,
back.
yeah,
And a
yeah.
lot of people did that at the same time. Anyway, okay. So, but I'm glad, good for you. I hope you are successful in your endeavor in doing the investment. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Next one we have Diaz.
So maybe one
Still
another thing.
apa?
Recently I have like a quite bad, let's say, unexpected event. So
Mm,
maybe I need to make quite a lot of money, but thankfully I still have some emergency money
mm,
that I put in those stocks and also like bonds and like emergency
mm.
money. So even if that terrible event actually happening, I'm still okay, thankfully.
Yeah.
I will not tell you the event, but basically I have like cushion for about almost 6 months.
Mm.
So
If
yeah,
it's bonds, I think it's fine, right?
yeah,
Bonds is a stable market,
that's correct.
especially government bond. But the thing about stocks is, I heard if already below whatever percentage, it
Yeah,
like
yeah,
kind of force sell. So even though
mhm.
you try to hold on to it, they kind of force sell you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one I'm afraid of, usually,
No, no, no.
personally.
That only happens if you borrow money.
If you borrow money, okay.
Yeah, that is
See, so
called margin
that's
call. Doesn't
yeah,
happen if you
short
borrow.
margin call. Oh, so you buy stocks on borrowed money.
Oh no.
That's the one that's the Great Depression one then. Okay. But the I think government bond is still
Yeah,
okay lah.
yeah.
Still okay.
It can be
Market.
sold almost any time in
Mm-hmm.
one of the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just,
Think
just, just, yeah,
yes or
just
no?
a short comment. I think for emergency fund, the best place is not stock or bond, but money market fund. Yeah, just
Ah, yeah.
Money
okay.
market
Thank you.
fund. That's
Yeah.
also one of the reason why rupiah is getting dying and dying. I think a lot of people kind of speculate on this one, yeah. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Just pro and cons, I guess. Um, let's go to Diaz. You ready? Okay, let's go.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Can you hear my voice? Okay, thank you. So, I'll share the screen if I may. I'd like to summarize what I've been reading. And okay, if the shared screen pop up already, is it?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So, by the way, this is Canva, guys. This is Canva. So I just happen to use the template and fulfill it with all those summaries regarding the book. So the title of the book is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. When I googled her, she's actually the columnist for Sunday Times Style magazine. It's in UK, by the way. So um basically everyone basically she has been a writer but as a columnist for a magazine, and then she decided to compile everything and made it into a book, which is I think she has several, but this is one of the first book that she has published. And then the reason why I decided to read the book is because first, the I think the cover is pretty cute because it's um you can say that I'm one of the the persons who judged the book by the cover, and because it's a cute cover and there's a scribble on it, but then again, it's like a it seems like something is not yet finished, but it's actually finished. So the cute cover, and then a new topic for me because um lately I've been reading novels again. I'm back to novels, but then this one with the way she writes, with the style, you know the difference between type of writing for magazine and type of writing for the books. This one is a mix of both. So it's a brand new thing for me, apparently. And then because the third reasons is because my friends from different generation, from Gen Z, because currently as a millennial I have someone older and lots of friends younger, actually on my current workplace right now. So even though different generations, most of them recommend to, why don't you read this one? So I said, yes, okay, why not? Then I read everything I know about love. And then the three key takeaways from the book is, even though the title is Everything I Know About Love, while reading it, it seems that love is not what Dolly Alderton's talking about. It's mostly about relationships and experience. So it's not really about love. And then the love that she has been describing, or the one that she explains, is not always romantic. So it's kind of, you know, risk bertolak belakang ya, counterintuitive, counter. So it's pretty much just north and south. And then the second is the key takeaways is that change is part of life, and then it's inevitable. So meaning that you cannot really avoiding the change. And then the third is because it's she explains everything, especially since the elementary school until almost her 30s. And then when she talked about the teenage, maybe because I think my age and her age is not too far. It's not too far. So apparently we experience most of the same teenage era. So it's pretty nostalgic for me, and it's a good thing. It's a good experience while reading this book. Then I'd like to share as well about the good things and also the not so good things. Is first is the raw style, or the raw informations about this book. And then because it's too raw for me, it's kind of, culture, a bit culture shocking. And then with all the slide with all the slight sarcasm, it's pretty much, it's a hard time to take about it's a hard time to digest everything. And then one thing that I'd like to question everyone here is, how do you how do you how do you see your friendship from scale 1 to 5, and how important is friendship to you? Because apparently in this book she talks lots and lots about her friendship with her childhood friends since the elementary school up until her late 20s to early 30s. And then if you'd like to ask questions for me or for the book, please do focus on the book and the topic only. I think that's it. That's what I can share. I'll stop sharing. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Anyone?
thank you. Yes, if possible, can you please keep sharing the
Oh, okay, sure.
digest
That's it.
of the book? That would really help. But before I open the chance for question, Nisa, welcome. Uh, is it your first time to this book brewer?
Hello, everyone. It's my first time joining this Zoom meeting.
Yeah. Are you from the Bookaholic
Welcome.
group?
Yes, I'm from the Bookaholic group.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. Okay. So I would like to open the session for question. Anyone has question about this book? Go ahead. Okay. So I have question. First of all, the book talk about everything I know about law. But why is the one highlighted there is about friendship? So does it mean this book actually talk about friendship? Because I noticed in the cover the word friends is actually crossed out. So is it parties, dates, friends, jobs, life? It's actually got
Yeah.
crossed out. So why friendship here is the actually the one that you highlight?
Okay. So basically the one that she crossed out about the parties, the dates, the friends, the job, the life, it's actually it's in all of it are included in the books. And because it's pretty funny for me as well because uh pretty much she talks a lot about parties and dates. And because the book is basically it's chronological since the elementary or the teenage era. So it's from the book she was once writing about her love, what she considered as love when she was 8, and then when she was 10, and then moving forward to 11, 12, 13, and so on until the late 20s, early to continuing to the very early 30s. So mostly the love that she mentioned is not really far away from the parties, dates, jobs, and life. So you know, in certain era of our life, when we go to this school, you met this one, you went to party with this one, and then you had a date with this one. But since the friendship is what I concluded, the friendship is the most love on her life is because she keeps on mentioning her childhood friend, which is very important for her, and that childhood friends up until now is her best friend, and then this best friend is the witness of everything, including and mostly about love. So um I do agree that the friends should not be scribbled or crossed out, but actually, the when we read, when we try to digest all of this writing, then we do know, oh, this is the love that she was once understood as love, but apparently, love is not only about not only about partnership. You can find lots of things in friendships as well. So that's what I can summary I can conclude about this book. So I hope that answers your question, Pipit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Any other question, maybe from Donald or Nisa about this book?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
What is or are some surprising statements or insights that you get from the book? Something that is unexpected.
Okay. Uh, Something unexpected about the book is actually the flow of this book, and because I happen to watch Sex and the City, the first season only. It seems like it's kind of reading this. It seems like it's kind of watching this. Yeah. And and Sex and the City mixed with Gossip Girl, and then mix again with the movie Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. So it's a mix of those TV series and one movie, I think. And that's part of what that's the thing that really surprised me the most, because reading this is not only reading, but you can imagine lots of things, and it's related to movies about girls friendship. So and then the most shocking but not really shocking is the how different the culture between Western and Eastern, uh talking about the dating and stuff, the relationship and stuff. So yeah, that's also one of the most um shocking for me while reading this book. I hope that answers, Donald. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think that's
Nisa, do you have
it.
question?
I have a question. Sorry, my English is not actually good. Is
Oh,
this book? I read from the title that this book is about love too and friendship. Is this book tells love or friendship between just two girls, or this book tells about more than two girls friendship? Thank you.
okay. So thank you for the question. So the love that she describes in the book is, for me, if I can summarize as well, is uh the people that she met according to each era of your life. So, for example, on this book is when she was 8, when she was in the pre-teenage, when she was in teenager, and when she's in the university, and then after graduation, and then the first job. So it's very chronological, and it seems like we are watching someone grew up. Watching someone grow up. So um and it's also a mix, not only about love, but the main part, well, and that really highlights the book for me, is the friendship between her and her childhood friend, which become who become her best friend even up until now. So that's the most highlighted part, and according to me, and it's indeed it's one of the most beautiful thing, I guess, because the friendship is the also the witness of everything that she loves about. I hope that answers, Nisa. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that would wrap up Dia's book. Thank you for the presentation, Diaz, and also for the illustration. I actually screenshot it and share it with the group. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Since it
Okay,
says
thank
by
you.
Diaz anyway, so we know it's you. So,
Okay, thank
so
you.
thank you.
Sorry.
Now let's go to Donald.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will go through the questions. The first one is the title of the book and what it's about. The title of the book is Decoding Greatness. Decoding Greatness. I will show the cover, maybe too small. Decoding Greatness. And the subtitle is How the Best in the World Reverse Engineer Success. How the Best in the World Reverse Engineer Success by Ron Friedman. And what it's about how some people or groups they achieve success or mastery through something called reverse engineering. And this is related to the second question in our outline. The second one is, why did you decide to read the book? Because when I read the introduction, it mentions something that is quite new in personal development, which is reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is a technical term because my background is in software development. I know this term, but usually it is for technical stuff. And this time it is applied to personal development. So that's why I'm interested how this author uses this process called reverse engineering to decode. That is the term that he uses, decode greatness. Reverse engineering means we try to learn from a work or someone and we try to decode what makes the work great. And that's why the title of the book is apt. It is decoding greatness. We do not just look at the greatness, but we try to distill it, decode it, and then we can build it in our own style. For the third question here, what are your key takeaways from the book? Yeah, the process of reverse engineering is as applied to personal development is something that is new to me and it's quite interesting that and the book shows that many people throughout history and groups they decode or they reverse engineer something that they found to be great and then they dissect it, they get to the elements of it and then they apply it to their own situation. And there are several ways to do reverse engineering. For example, the first one is to collect great works. When we see something that is good or great, we collect it and then we try to understand why it's great, why it works. And then the next step, a further step, is to try to replicate it. For example, the painter, the famous painter Picasso often did this, try to replicate someone else's work. I think maybe in the younger age. And by replicating the other people's work, they will have to think through it. Why did the painter choose this method, or how did the painter achieve this method? And the process of copying itself will help you hone your thinking. That's one method of reverse engineering. Another way is you try to get the parts of this work and give metrics to it. For example, the author tried to reverse engineer the most popular TED Talk in history. I don't remember the exact title, but it is about school killing creativity. It is a famous talk, TED Talk. And the reverse engineering is by dividing this into segments. So the speaker spend this much amount, this percentage of time on this, and then this percentage of time on this. So it is very structured. This is another way to reverse engineer performance. So this is an interesting approach to greatness, as the author said. Is there a question that you would like to discuss? No? The last part is any question from the audience?
Already?
Yeah, there are
Okay.
so many, and I don't know how to choose which one to talk about. So I think it is better to have the questions.
Okay. So
Mm.
I would like to open the floor for question for Donald's book. Go ahead. I think Diaz share something.
Mhm.
Go Diaz.
Is that the one that you mentioned about where the famous TED Talks from Sir Ken Robinson about school kills creativity? Is that the one? Oh,
Yes, yes,
okay.
that one.
Okay.
The
Uh,
author reverse
mhm.
engineered this talk as one
Oh,
example.
okay. Mm-mm. Well, I mean, the TED Talks was shared, it was February 2006, so about 20 years ago. Man, 2006 is pretty long time. Okay, but
Has been watched 100 million times.
I guess so. And then I does the book really highlights everyone's profession? Because it talks about the how decode, and then I'm assuming that there will be parts of or terms about a software engineer that us who didn't study about software would not understand. But is that general enough to be understood by all kinds of jobs or all kinds of education background?
Yes, it is understandable by every profession because he only borrows the term, but everything else is common. All the examples are from common fields, from art and business. So in business, for example, you can ask, how would Amazon is a big business, how would Amazon approach this? So that is one way to reverse engineer. Another way, you try to take the role of this person or this company. How would this company or this person approach this? Everything is quite practical and it is not technical.
I have a
Okay,
question.
I'll put it on my TBR. Thank you.
I have a question. After the book must be highlighting many different success stories. right? From many different fields. True or not? Don't know.
Yes,
So what
but
is is there any like underlying similarity between them that make this example so great, for example?
because because the topic of the book is reverse engineering, the common thread is all of them reverse engineer the role models. Somehow they have a role model or an ideal and they reverse engineer it and then they build it up in their own style.
So, but then,
Actually,
yeah.
sorry, Bebet. Actually, there are two parts of the book. The first part is about how to reverse engineer, and the second part is after you reverse engineer, you have a proven formula. That is the term used. And now, how do you apply this formula? You will have a gap between your current ability and the ability needed to execute on the proven formula. And how to close this gap is the second part of the book. So there are two parts. First, how to reverse engineer and how to close the gap of your ability to execute based on what you learn.
Well, to execute, I can imagine it's probably the most difficult part, right? Did the book identify any uh, factors that make some people execute some of these plans and some others do not? These strategies, some others do not.
No, because the book is not about motivation. I think a better book for that is something like Grit. For example, there is a book titled Grit, which is about how to have perseverance for a long time. But this book is not in that direction. It's simply how to do this thing, assuming you want to achieve it. So the motivation part is not covered.
So the book is for people who already have the motivation but don't know how to do it.
Yes, so
Okay. Okay.
they do not know what is possible. That is the
How do we pick
concept.
apart our role model?
Sorry,
How do we pick apart and investigate our role model?
depends on the
Individual.
field. Can you give an example?
Say
About
Barack Obama, for example.
which part of Barack
Politics.
Obama?
Politics.
He said actually the book give an example about Barack Obama how he became a good speaker. So I think I will go in that direction.
Oh, only a good speaker. Yes, that one then,
Okay,
please.
because about the politic aspect is not covered in the book. But the
Oh,
book does
many
mention
different
about
factors.
Obama. Obama was uninspiring at the beginning in his political life, and he gave bad speech, but then he learned from sermons in black churches. So the preachers in black churches, they have a certain intonation, a certain way to captivate the audience, and Obama learned from them, and he applied these techniques to his speech. So Obama uses a lot of pause, for example. He make a statement, then pause for a few seconds. All these things he learned most, at least, from these preachers in the black churches that is mentioned in the book.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that. Yeah. Like he sounds like preachers in the church with the sing songs, with the intonation almost like singing sometimes.
Not not all preachers, but I think preachers in black churches is
In
have
lecture, yeah. I mean the way they talk is like no 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 like the singing that like a sing song.
well, this is not in the book, but my analysis is Obama vary the intonation
Mm,
and then uses a lot of pause. Even in
mm,
one sentence, in a single sentence between words, there are some pauses.
mm,
Very strategic. This is
yeah.
Toastmasters. Yeah.
No, not really. I don't know. Okay. All right. So it's my turn now, yeah? Okay. The book I'm going to talk about is The Great Depression. This is a quite famous photograph from the Great Depression. Other than the lady that this one, this is also quite famous photo from the Great Depression. Maybe you've seen it somewhere, right? So I really like this book. I think of all of the Witness to History I have talked about, this is probably the one I can implement the most in my life. So this one, wait, sorry, wait, wait. Let me check. Witness to History. Oh,
Oh my
here.
God, Pipit, there's
What?
tons of tabs.
Tons of tabs. Yeah, a lot of Wikipedias, a lot of Google Docs. Okay, so this is the collection of my Witness to History's summary, and this is the last one about the Great Depression. And this is the one I can probably implement the most in my daily life in comparison to other topic. Yeah. If you notice, there are some part that I chat GPT it to find further about a certain topic because the book is only 50 pages, so it's not really thorough on certain topic. I had to research it myself if I was interested. So basically, this is I have 12 points of findings or summary that I would like to share. The first one is the Great Depression became evidence that capitalism was failing. Okay. So that became the reason for countries such as the USSR and Germany to try different types of economic systems. Okay. So that time they use the Great Depression as an example that a capitalism was not a good economic system. So they kind of use it as their justification to develop their own economic system. Yeah. But I think one thing that we can really learn from the Great Depression is about what caused it. Yeah. So that time, food prices in the US falling immediately that time. And that was one factors that started the Great Depression. So this the US somehow benefited from the World War One. So World War One happened in Europe that time. Okay. So before the Great Depression. And because of World War One, a lot of European countries somehow could not operate their daily factory activities. They could not do agriculture in peace, something like that. So they used or they bought most of their necessities from the US, basically agriculture products and things like that, because they were European countries were so busy with themselves, warring against each other, right? And this created demands in the US to increase rapidly. So now farmers enjoyed the economic booms from the wartime in Europe and thought it would continue for quite a long time. So when the war ended, the damage had been done. They terlanjur borrowed a lot of money from the bank to buy land and increase their production. They bought machinery, something like that, because they thought the war was going to go on for a long time, that the demand from Europe was going to keep increasing and increasing. But when the war ended, the demand suddenly dropped and they already terlanjur spend a lot of time increasing their production. Okay. So my personal reflection, maybe that's what you get from benefiting from other people's unfortunate circumstance because they benefited from wars. Yeah. Same thing with the Wall Street at that time. The stock market rose up beyond control because the optimism on the American economy because of wars in Europe. So because of war in Europe, the American economy actually flourished really rapidly that time. And include not only in agriculture, in production, but also on the Wall Street. So people bought stocks on borrowed money. Okay. So they borrowed money from the bank with the promise that the stocks would go up and up more than the interest they had to pay to the bank, basically. But then what happened is it did not happen. So udah utang and then what they use the money for is actually declining rapidly in worth, right? So this was actually the unchecked or uncontrolled optimism in America as the result from enjoying the unfortunate circumstance in Europe. Okay, so that time the food prices fell because overproduction. Yeah, that after World War One, Europe started to return to their agricultural activities. So they did not need a lot of American crops anymore. So the American crops become more too abundant for the domestic demand. And also the technological improvement that time started to show up. So the production became a lot more abundant than before. Okay, and then the international demand also fell not only because these people in Europe have gone back to their agriculture um, activities, but also they started to impose tariffs on imported stuff to protect their own economy. So all of this combined, farmers borrow too much money from the bank to buy land, machinery, and equipment. And that's why, with all of these falling prices, things like that, farms become bankrupt. Okay. And then the bank also failed because they could not collect the money from the farmers anymore that they were supposed to pay the debt. Okay. So basically, this is like a chain reaction of the soaring demand during World War One. People became too optimistic and they would like to take a risk, such as borrowing a lot of money, thinking that the war would continue for a long time, but turned out their prediction actually turned out to be wrong. The next thing that became a good lesson for us, not to be too optimistic about whatever happened in economy, because anything obviously can happen. So if we want to borrow money to do something, we need to make sure that what we want to buy or what we want to build with that borrowed money is something that's actually gonna work. Yeah, even though in business everything is 50-50, I guess. Some businesses survive, some others do not. But I think this one is making us um, more careful in at least our spending, our financial decisions, something like that. Next one is easy credit program from the bank. So they kind of encourage people to purchase more and more shares, even though they could not afford them. It created a fragile situation, especially when it happened to a lot of people at the same time. Okay, so again, same thing. I guess I don't need to re-explain this about the stock market, bought on borrowed money. Next one, U.S. banks gave a lot of loans to Europe and wanted Europe to pay it back quicker because of the large number of vacant saving owners wanted their money back at the same time. Okay, so they kind of started to feel the the heat of this economic depression. They started to feel it, right? And then once one group of people felt it, the other somehow catch the heat as well. So everyone wanted to get to withdraw their money from the bank. Okay, so because everyone wanted to withdraw their money from the bank, then the bank pressured people who borrow money to kind of return it as soon as they can too. But obviously, it was not possible. Many US companies were out of business, so they could not buy materials for the productions from other countries, such as copper from Chile. So Chile, also other countries that are secondary, not directly impacted by the Great Depression, also felt the heat. Yeah, because the demand for their material also got decreased. That time President Hoover became so unpopular, they even named the shanty towns or the slum area called Hooverville. So there are people who lost their home, did not have jobs, so they lived in the slump, and the slums were called Hooverville. Thankfully, President Roosevelt or FDR introduced the New Deal to help relieve the depression by providing large-scale relief But the good thing about the relief here is not free money. He actually created a lot of jobs through public infrastructure. So it was the US decided to spend a lot of time, a lot of money on public work such as roads, rails, and bridges, something like that, and as a tool to employ as many people as they could. Okay. And this New Deal permanently changed the role of the US government. Before this, the Great Depression, the government had limited intervention in the economy because they believed in pure capitalism that time. So the intervention of the government was very limited, including in the money market. So even though the Fed, Federal Reserve, existed already, but it did not have a big authority to decide on things. Okay, that's why they could not even regulate banks. But after this Great Depression, the Fed or the Federal Reserve had bigger role after that. Now American government is doing all of these things: regulate banks, provide social welfare, protect workers, and intervene during economic crisis. So before the Great Depression, the governments did not really do any of this. Yeah. Many institutions created during the New Deal still exist today. Yeah. Next one is another example of how benefiting from wars is not good. Yeah, it's the Dust Bowl. I'm sure you have heard of the Dust Bowl before, this catastrophic environmental disaster in the US. The Dust Bowl made the problems worse, and the usage of machinery instead of humans put a lot of agricultural workers out of work. Dust Bowl also partly caused by wheat overfarming driven up by the World War I demands from Europe. So basically, instead of diversifying what they planted, and like in the past, they kept plant the same thing over and over again. In this case, was a wheat. Was what was not a wheat, because the demand from Europe was so high that time. So because they did not diversify, they kind of overfarm and clear so much land within short period of time that created the Dust Bowl. So in the past, there was shrubs or green grass, tall grass in the Midwest area that somehow could hold this dust, not, not too crazy, but even these green areas were converted into wheat plantation. So then it created the Dust Bowl. Yeah. So then this one, the same story about benefiting from wars, that somehow it bites you back, but I've never seen it in the military industrial complex. Military industrial complex obviously benefit from wars, but they haven't seen their days of getting the expected justice. The lives of women were exceptionally difficult during the Great Depression. Their husbands are often unemployed. So the woman had to juggle between work. Oh, more women were hired during Great Depression because they were cheaper to hire than men. So if there are works that, like it or not, had to employ someone, they chose to employ women because it was cheaper to employ women. But at the same time, their work at home was still on the go. So they had to juggle between these two. There were no birth control just yet, so they were often pregnant at the same time. The Nazi Germany, however, during that time, emphasized on the place of women back to home. Yeah, not encourage them to have a career. People showed their discontent about the economy through their votes. For example, the FDR won in the US presidential election with the promise of the New Deal campaign, the one I said earlier, when public works employed ordinary people. And Nazi in Germany also won because one of the reasons because of the Great Depression. And as a matter of fact, Nazi were successful in creating a lot of jobs that time. So somehow this blinded people. Even though Nazi were clearly oppressive, but people were quote unquote okay with it because Nazi was proven to be able to create a lot of jobs. However, different story in the UK. The UK wanted to do something as in the line of the New Deal. Like they wanted to create all of these public works that employ a lot of people. They even had their British economist that is famous until now, John Maynard Keynes, and his theory is called Keynesian economics until now, still used today. But it's in the line of the New Deal. However, people did not vote for the New Deal that time. And this one I need to investigate further why the British people that time were not interested to vote for someone who wanted to implement the New Deal. So it's totally different from the American people that time in responding this type of idea. And tough times gave rise to dictators in countries such as Germany, but then it did not create dictators in the US. So I need to research what's the difference. Different people responded to crisis differently. And the USSR was not touched by the Great Depression because that time they used communism. So they were actually making great economic progress during the Great Depression. But even though the country made a lot of money from the Great Depression, but it did not translate into better living standards of the people because the revenues from these economic activities were used by the government to build more factories, not given back to the people. Okay. So Stalin government was of course ruthless to its people. That one is well known until now. And ironically, the one that actually ended the Great Depression was actually another war, World War II. With the start of World War II, a lot of men were sent to wars, and that somehow jump started the economy again. So suddenly, those who were unemployed become employed now, even though as soldiers, and then the war effort is becoming the the rhythm or the one that somehow jumpstart the economy of these European countries. So that somehow Great Depression is somehow no longer their bigger problem, I guess. So the bigger problem for them is now the World War II. Okay, so that is what I can summarize from the Great Depression. I hope it's not too crazy. Any question? Yes, dear.
Maybe because since the title itself is already depressing, does it really mention about the lesson learned, or does it discuss about the importance of having an emergency fund? Because it, I think the one of the things that we learn about the Great Depression is um by making more saving. Hopefully, all of us can make us a big saving. Hopefully, as big as Fajar. Where's Fajar? Oh, Fajar
He
already
had to
left. But
go, yeah.
he mentioned because he mentioned that he managed to save. I mean, almost half of the salary. But since the Great Depression is mostly, I think about the worst time of economic era. um, does it discuss more about the emergency funding, or how we use our loan, or how we manage the basically the budget
Mm,
that
yeah.
was considered as affordable at that time?
Yes. There are a lot of lessons personally that we can implement, but of course we have to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because in the today's economy, people talk about how you have to take a risk if you want to be successful. If you want to sell a big ship, you have to go to the deep sea, they said. If you want to make a big money, you have to take a big risk. Uh, go big or go home or something, you know? So I think this type of attitude that has been popularized in um, a lot of business seminars, even movies such as The Wolves of Wall Street or something make people not see it the way it should be, I think. So it doesn't, just because people think if you want to be successful, you have to take a risk, it doesn't mean the risk you take is not, the risk you take has still have to be calculated, basically. So our optimism be has to be controlled, not unchecked optimism, basically. So obviously, what happened to a lot of people in America at that time, they thought the economy was gonna be booming and booming for a long time, but then it ended abruptly. Yeah, I think we experienced it during our lifetime, which was COVID. We never saw that coming, right? A lot of people did not have emergency funds. They never thought they were gonna lose their job just like that. Um, is the black swan. It did not happen before, right? So I think to have an emergency fund is a must, just like any businessman or woman who need to have some emergency money to make the business still in operation for what, 6 months? They said, or a year. Maybe Donald knows more about it. Like you have to imagine if you don't make any profit for the next 6 months or 10 months, you still have to have some money to, operate to run the business basically on without any profit at all. So I think that is very important. And this particular book helped me make my decision about getting a car, actually. Yes, so a lot of people pressurized me to buy an electric car. Yes, especially with the gasoline was so hard to find. And then I don't know, like my car is probably showing some age signs of aging or something. Everyone kind of, God, ganti waktunya ganti lah, almost every day I could hear that. But I don't know. I feel like makes me more conscious when making financial decisions. This book is the right time for me to read it, so I do not just buy something excessively or without thinking properly. So yes, we need to be careful to spend and invest money. Any other question?
Thank you, babe.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody and apologize for coming later. Yeah. Yeah, I want to ask Diaz first about the book of love because it was interesting when I read that love is not only about romantic love. So after reading this book, how are you going to apply the golden nuggets from this book in your day-to-day life in terms of your relationships with your family and friends? Thank you.
I thought it's about Pipit's book, but anyhow, I will for me what I can get from the book is being consistent, and as much as possible be present um in the life of the one that you love, not only your partner but also your friend, also your close colleagues, and as well as the family members. That's what inshallah I'm going to do, even more constant comparing to now.
That's great. So consistency, yeah, is important. You said that consistency in being present. Does that mean that consistently in spending time with them or consistently in giving gifts for them, or how is it in the real life situation? Could you give specific examples, please?
I think it depends on everyone's choice, but for me, being consistent is being being consistent is keep on updating each other's life. That's one of the things about being consistent.
Okay, thank you. And now my
Thank
question
you.
for Pipit. Yeah, Pipit, you talk about the Great Depression because of the World War II in America. And what was interesting that you mentioned that women actually were hired more because we cost less than men to hire. However, the downside is that we have to juggle between taking care of the household, children, and work. So my question to you, Pipit, because it's still relevant to current situation, everywhere in the world, women still earn 70% of what men do. And yes, especially in collectivist culture, in Asian culture or Eastern culture, women are also expected to be responsible for cooking, for taking care of the children, like when they're ill, when they have emotional challenges in relationships, etc. So, um, actually, the what you call that, the emancipation or the woman empowerment make women have to work 3 times harder than we are supposed to do, and it's not fair. So how do you bring justice to this situation? What can you do as a woman to avoid to have to do it all? Pipit.
Whoa, that is very heavy. Of course, it's patriarchy related, of course, right? But I think, I don't know, everyone for themselves, I guess, because every time we can only do what we can personally, but whenever I see there are other women who disagree with me or they want to still have their traditional way, then I think in the end is everyone for themselves. Then because there are women who try to be independent, not depending on a man to survive economically, mentally, whatever, right? But there are equally the same amount of women who lately on TikTok they come out somehow becoming kemunduran ya in terms of feminism, how they try to get money as much as they can from guys, like, oh, if the guys do not invest on you, I mean he doesn't love you enough, something like that. So it's like clearly capitalizing on how women have to get money from men for some reason, so as a source of income. So I think it's in the end, I'm not sure in this modern economy, in the modern era, which one is called feminist, which one is not. The line is blurred right now. So what I know is what I'm doing myself. So for me, it doesn't really matter who makes money in the household. It's sadar diri, I think. So, but if it's the woman who is the breadwinner, then the man is probably the one who should do the household chores because, it's not set on stone that has to be women who does it. But same thing as if it's the man who is the breadwinner, then the women is the one doing the household work. Or if both of them make money, then both of them have to share the work. So I think it's has to come with the self self I don't know the English word, yeah, sadar diri about their own situation. I think that's what I can share, Mbak Mita. What is the
Okay,
English
so,
word for sadar diri, ya?
Self-awareness,
self.
self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Yes, self-awareness. Yeah, I think probably because everyone has different ways. Yeah. I have a friend. who every time it's time to pay for, okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Okay, that was off the record. All
Yes,
right, I think that's it.
agree,
Yeah.
Pipit. Yeah, I think women have been raised with different kind of values and norms within the families. I think self-awareness is the key. You need to be aware what is comfortable for you and your partner. Yeah, if everything is okay, then both of you work and both of you share the chores, that's great. But in patriarchy system, especially Javanese family, yeah, but in the old days, because 95% of women nowadays, we work, yeah, whether it's part-time, whether it's our own small business, whether it's in the office, we all work, yeah, and still earn less than men. So the key is for women, I think you need to know what's working for you. Yeah, that's the thing. So if it's working for you that you don't ask money from the guys, that's great. But if you need money from the guys, I'm for you too. So I support all women with all decision as long as it's working for you. That's my conclusion. And for Donald, my last question is for Donald. I'm sorry I missed most of your part, but you were talking about Barack Obama, how he sounds great because the way of his public speaking. You're right. He pauses a lot. It shows that he's thinking before he speaks. Yeah, so it's good. However, when you talk about decoding greatness, what is one thing that as both men and women all over the world, we can do to express our greatness to others.
Sorry, Babita, but I think it is no longer my session, so I think it's better to focus on Pipit's book for now.
Okay, because I thought it's like for the three of you.
No,
All
no,
right.
it's fine because she has asked me a question.
No, because now
So
my
don't.
mind is directed on questioning Pipit, no longer thinking about my book. So I will be
Oh,
move
okay.
on. Yeah.
Do I have a question then?
Yes, my question is there leadership lesson from FDR because he led through the Great Depression, right? And then later World War II. What are the leadership lessons? Are they
The
mentioned in the
lesson FDR is amazing. And even more amazing that he was actually disabled. He could not walk, right? So I think makes me want to read a biography of FDR or at least watch a movie of FDR actually. That's on my watch list and to-do list. I want to know more about him. What made him so special? Despite his weakness, he was actually one of the strongest American presidents. Yeah. And then you know what is uh disheartening or sad for me is in this era of transparency, things like that, probably this type of person would not get voted. Like the reason why he was voted that time because he could hide his crippledness, right? So he was in wheelchair for several years, but he could hide it from the public. So the public did not see him as a weak person. But we don't know in the current society with full transparency, people saw someone in a wheelchair and then will feel confidence that the person is going to be a good leader or not. So I think that is the one that strike me the most, yeah, in terms of personal and leadership like that. So I think, yeah, and definitely he had a good idea how to get the American people out of this Great Depression and winning the war at the same time. So, your question, I think it's still pending for me, Donald. I don't know enough about FDR from this book that I can confidently share right now. but it's on my to-do list to learn more about him. Oh, he was, by the way, ruthless though, Donald, to journalists. Yeah. So imagine in today's world, he would be controversial. Like he only allowed 4 journalists to follow him everywhere, and no other journalist was allowed. And then no one was allowed to take a photo of him on a wheelchair. And then one journalist actually happened to take a picture of him in the wheelchair, and then one of his bodyguards actually smashed his camera and ripped the content of the film because really they did not want people to see him in wheelchair. However, until now, there's 2 surviving photos of him in a wheelchair, and it was taken from far away, like a long shot. He did not even realize it. So FDR in wheelchair because his bodyguard did a really good job in smashing or preventing journalists from taking photo. But imagine today's society, like he would be considered as uh, against freedom of press or whatever. Okay, anyway, all right. Almost time is up, guys. I have my next class, so let's take a photo with our book. Kamita, do you have a book? No? Okay, please. Okay, Diaz, blurry.
Wait, I will turn off the blur background. Just a second.
Apa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you. Let's meet next month.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Have a
Okay.
nice
Thank you.
day.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
See you
Great
next
weekend.
month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.